Hi, welcome to the Hyperfixated Fan. I'm Rachel.
I'm Hunter.
Today we're talking about
Fullmetal Alchemist.
Fullmetal Alchemist.
God, I love it.
We had to do that, like, I don't know, like, if you don't say along with the announcer guy during that, like, I do that all the time.
I love whoever is the narrator voiceover for that.
Yeah.
I was doing my rewatch, and I just said this to Rachel, but I was doing a rewatch for this, and sometimes he just sounds so sad when he does it. Sometimes he sounds really angry, but a lot of times it's just like, Fullmetal Alchemist. And you're like, buddy, do you need a hug? It's so wonderful.
Yeah, and then sometimes it'll just be like, Fullmetal Alchemist, Fullmetal Alchemist, and then sometimes he puts, like, Fullmetal Alchemist.
It's like, did they just have you take this, like, 8 million times, and they just shuffled them in at random? I really hope that's the case. They're just like, say it with every intonation you can possibly imagine.
It's great. I love it. But today we're talking about Fullmetal Alchemist. We're talking about the 03 one and then Brotherhood. I've only seen Brotherhood, but...
Oh, I didn't realize we were going to be talking about 03, but I,
mean,
do have
really.
some... Yeah, I have thoughts on 03, but I have not watched it in a very long time.
That's fine.
I have some thoughts of a little bit of comparison between the two, mostly on the early bits of it before 03, like, went... like independent on its own story. I would love to talk about it more after I've rewatched it someday, but like I'm fully most of my notes on it are like the stuff that we see in 03 that didn't make it into Brotherhood because they're like, you've already seen this shit, we don't need to cover it again.
Except I haven't.
So yeah, I've got a few notes on that, but I didn't really talk about, or like,
it's mostly Brotherhood.
Yeah, it's mostly Brotherhood.
Yeah, because I haven't seen 03, but for those
we
of y'all...
We should watch it together, it's really good.
We should. For those of y'all who don't know, or who have only seen Brotherhood, like, the 03 one is, like, it came out first, and it came out, like, before the whole manga was done, so they had to, like, make up their own stuff.
They have their own lore for, like, all of it. And it's really cool. Like, a lot of people hate on it once. Like, they really liked it, and then Brotherhood came out, and then they were like, actually, 03 was super bad. Which is, I think, unfair, because I think they ran with the lore in a really cool direction.
It's just different.
And did a lot of really cool character stuff with it. And I could go on that, like, rant all day, but because I really enjoy both shows as separate entities. But, like, if you have not watched the 03 version, I highly recommend checking it out. First of all, it will give you some fun little details that you can catch in Brotherhood. Like, you get Yoki's, like, full intro story.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like, you find out why Yoki, like, wants to vows vengeance against the Elric brothers.
You only get that, like, very fast
tiny little
Brotherhood,
scene.
yeah.
But you get to hear about, like, his whole story with his mining town.
Okay.
You get to see, like, just a handful of things that you don't get to see. And I have some of those arcs noted about, like, the stuff that... Actually, you know what? Let me just go check my notes on that. Because there's, like... We don't really get the full Yoki origin story, which is, like, honestly great. He's this, like... head of this mining town who is fully abusing the town just to get more gold. And Ed and Al, it's like one of the earliest arcs. Ed and Al just like show up and are like, hi, you suck. Have you considered like not doing that? Everyone in your town is starving and dying. And again, I have not watched this in a very long time, so summaries are not going to be great, but they are going to be fun. And so when he is just like, no, I'm not going to be a better person. I am going to be a terrible person and live in my rich man manner and eat delicacy foods.
Rich people never want to give
like
up their privilege.
Super rich guy. It sucks. And so Ed is like, how about this? I will give you so much gold and buy the deed to the mine from you. And he's like, well, shit, that's a lot of gold. Yeah, I'll do that. He sells the deed to the mine, which Ed then gives to the townspeople in general. And then turns out all that gold was not real gold, but in fact just, like, he used alchemy to make something look like gold.
Yeah.
And because this was, like, an illegal trade, they didn't make any paperwork for it.
Yeah.
And Yoki is like, but no, give me it back. I want to take the sale. He's like, what sale?
Yeah,
you gave this to me. You gave it to me. I think they made paperwork for the, like, just gifting the deed. And he's like, no, you gifted it to me, and here it is in paperwork, and I have now gifted it to the townspeople.
Yeah.
And so they just, like,
nice.
and he gets chased out of town, and that's why he hates the Elrics.
Nice.
Like, another thing is, like, in the O3 version, we get a lot more scenes with, like, Mustang's crew, with, like, Breda and Fury and Fallman and all of them.
Oh, the other ones.
Yeah, we get to see, like, more of them. We get to see how they end up with the dog, Black Hayate. We get Black Hayate origin. And then, like, there's this great story with, like, just, like, the crew investigating the haunted warehouse 13.
That's fun.
And it's just, like, shenanigans with the crew.
That's fun.
Which is just really good and silly. And
yeah,
then
I'll watch that.
I remember there was we get to see, there's references to it because Envy threatens Dr. Marco by saying, if you don't work with us, we'll destroy the people in your village.
Right.
And he's, like, very protective of his village. But we actually had an arc where Ed goes to find Dr. Marco in his village and finds out that he's been using, like, we get to meet all the people in the village.
Oh,
and, like,
okay.
some shenanigans going on there. And, like, so we see that attachment directly. Yeah. It's the first time we encounter Dr. Marco.
It's not just spoken of.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So it's, like, it's stuff like that.
Okay.
And then, like, at the end of, or towards the end, I guess it's middle end, when, in Brotherhood, when we see Mei Chang, has her little, like, the Envy lizard in the jar, and she's, like, heading back to Jing with Envy.
Yeah.
She comes across a town, just as she's getting to the desert, and they're like, oh, this cute little girl with her weird little cat, like, we can take care of you can rest here before you, like, go into the desert. That's, like, a crazy thing for a little girl to do. And Envy is like, have you considered not leaving and going back? Those townspeople are the people from Yoki's mining town.
Oh, okay.
So they get a little cameo.
Yeah,
but it's
nice.
Also just, like, these are just nice town people, so it doesn't super matter, but it's, like, little hints.
Connections.
For the people who, like, knew the arc, read the manga, saw the O3.
It's nice world building.
Exactly. So it's, like, I don't know. I like the O3 version. Stuff. It's just some, like, the early arcs that you do get to see that they were like, we're gonna skip all that and get to the main shit for Brotherhood.
For Brotherhood, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I do recommend O3. It's super fun. They do some crazy shit with the lore. You get to find out, like, a whole different origin story for the homunculi, which is, like, good shit. It's painful.
Oh,
it's delicious.
It's completely different.
Yeah, it's so fucking wild, dude.
Interesting.
But now we can go back on the rails for Brotherhood.
The first thought I had when we were thinking about doing this was, wow, I remember when I first watched Brotherhood, I was in my senior year of college, and it was my summer internship. And I was basically, like, alone that whole summer, like, in my dorm room with, like, my cat. And so I would be gone from my internship all day. I'd come back, like, 5 or 6 o'clock and make dinner and watch Fullmetal Alchemist. I did that for, like, the whole summer until I finished it.
Incredible.
Because I didn't have anybody else to hang out with because everyone was gone for summers.
Oh, no.
But it was so good.
This was... Fullmetal and Brotherhood were basically, I don't remember if they were the first, but they were, like, basically my intro to anime.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
They were definitely some of the earliest ones I watched.
Yeah.
They were the ones that, like, really hooked me into anime.
It's usually, like, I recommend Brotherhood to, like, people who are just getting into it because it's really good. It's, like, not super long, so I think it's a really good introduction to anime. And also, I recommend people watch it in the dub, actually.
The dub is so good.
The dub is really good, and it matches because, like, all of them are, like, in this vague European setting, so it kind of matches for my brain.
It's also, I didn't do my normal, like, VA checks for the dub. Off the top of my head, I know that the voice of Riza is, like, Momo in My Hero. I know that, God, I cannot remember her name, but I did meet the voice of Olivier Armstrong.
Okay.
At the very first con I ever went to.
I love Olivier.
She was, like, at a table and happened to have no line in front of it. So I just, like, went up to her and I was like, hi, you're great. My roommate is obsessed with Olivier Armstrong. Can I get, like, one of your small prints and get a signature? She's like, you want to get it for your roommate? That is, like, the nicest thing. I was like, is it? Like, I was like, sure. Like, that just feels like a normal gift for a friend, but, like, I'll take it, I guess. She's like, oh my god, I love Olivia. I was like, yeah, me too. She's, like, the coolest person ever. Yeah. She's so scary.
She's such a badass.
But then, like, Ed's voice. First of all, he's Tamaki in Ouran High School Host Club. I can't remember his name for the life of me because I forgot to look it up. But he's Tamaki in Ouran High School Host Club. He's also, like, every third person in Naruto Shippuden.
Are you serious?
His voice, he doesn't even bother to change his voice. If you just watch Naruto Shippuden, you can just be like, oh, there's Ed again. Oh, there's Ed again. Ed is 3 people in this episode.
I guess I have not paid
There's Ed
attention
again.
watching Naruto.
McKenna and I were watching, my roommate and I were watching, like, Shippuden recently, and we've been, like, on a journey to try and watch it over the course of, like, a year, and
I keep trying to get them to watch it.
Well, to be fair, our TV, we finally got a new one. Our TV,
you got a new one?
Yeah, we finally got a new one. Our TV, like, kept shutting us down every time.
It was like, you're not allowed to watch Naruto.
You can't watch Naruto. You can't watch anything on Hulu, but specifically Naruto is bad. It just truly kept shutting down us, so we couldn't watch it. We're finally, like, back on track. But we were just like, oh, hey, Ed's back. There's 2 Eds in this episode. And he doesn't even change his voice. It's the same voice. And Ed, Tamaki, and all 800 people in Naruto are all the same voice. It's so funny.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, like, I don't, like, it doesn't bother me. Like, it's just so funny because you can pick him out anytime. The only voice actor that I do know the name of off the top of my head is the guy who voices Yoki.
Okay.
His name is Barry Yandell.
Okay.
I can pick his voice out almost immediately anytime I hear it, because he was, in fact, my middle school theater teacher.
That is crazy, man.
Yeah, he's great. Barry is wonderful.
Yoki being your theater teacher.
Yeah, it's so funny. He was a voice in Black Clover as well. He was like the head of the, like, underwater people. It's been a hot minute. That's fair. It's been a while since I've watched it. But we were watching that too, and then we were just like, Barry and my Black Clover.
Jump scared by
my middle school theater teacher. He's a delight. He's very funny. He also did the keep your hands and legs inside the vehicle at all times in one of the Six Flags rides.
What?
So that's very funny.
That's so weird.
Yeah, and not like all of them, just like that one ride for some reason.
Which ride?
I want to say the, like, Runaway Mountain Train or something like that. It's like, I want to say it's the one that's like in the dark. But
I haven't been to Six Flags for forever.
It's been a long time, but, like, I remember hearing that and being like, we have to find that ride. We have to track him down.
Yes, for sure.
But
wow,
that's my immediate off the dome knowledge of voice actors and the dub of Brotherhood.
Gotcha. They all do a really good job.
They're phenomenal.
They do a great job. Like, yeah.
God, it's so good. So in my rewatch just recently, or like just over the, like, past 4 days or whatever it was that I was, like, trying to binge, the very first episode of Brotherhood tells you basically everything that's about to happen. And I didn't realize this until recently, because, like, episode 1 of Brotherhood, it shows off not the full country, not a Amestris, but the central city.
And it looks
transmutation circle.
Yeah.
Because we're following the freezing ice
Alchemist
or whatever.
I think so.
He, like, uses Central City's transmutation circle.
Yeah, he definitely, like, you do get clues to that.
You also see Fuhrer King Bradley's very skilled, speedy sword skills, as well as, like, his... Yeah, because he's the one who takes down the freezing alchemist. And then it, like, hints that he knows more than he should. We also see that the freezing ice, whatever he is, has a philosopher's stone that dissolves after he dies.
Yes.
And then we also get a hint of father. Like, we see a very slim shot of father. We see all of this in episode 1.
A lot of clues.
So many clues. Like, right there. It's just like,
But you have no idea what's happening.
Oh, absolutely. You don't know what any of it means. You see, like, a red rock dissolve. You see, we're like, oh, this man set up this cool transmutation circle. And we see, like, the Fuhrer just killed a man. He's very good at his job. Maybe that's why he's the Fuhrer.
Yeah.
And then you're like, who's this shady man in the shadows with a beard? And that you later are like, wow, that looks a lot like Ed and Al's missing dad.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's set up well, but it's also like going back, you're like, damn, they just told me everything. It's very good. It's very fun. God, it's just, the show is good.
It is really good.
The show is good is the thing.
Story is really well done, I think.
For real.
Like, everything's connected and it's, like, very concise as well. I like it a lot.
It's great. I do want, this is just a single note. It's not in any of my, like, categories of notes. I usually tend to, like, categorize in, like, here's, like, characters or themes or whatever. This one is just an individual note. And I know a lot of people know about this, but just in case anyone has somehow missed it, there is one, like, blooper I don't know if it's an official blooper, but it has made its way around for Brotherhood, and it's my favorite thing ever.
I don't know if I've seen this.
It is a scene from like a flashback of like young Ed Allen Winry, and it's like the actual scene is like it's looking back on once Ed and Al had kind of like moved in with Winry and Panako, and the boys are like heading off to their home where they're going to go do some alchemical research, and Winry is like, oh, Grandma told me to tell you that we're having stew tonight. And the actual answer is like, okay, or like, I like stew, or something like that. But this one, it's like, you know, Al throws his hands up and he's like, yeah, okay. But the blooper one, his hands go up and he just goes, fuck yeah!
I think I have seen that actually.
Stew, fuck yeah! And it's just like truly the best thing that's ever happened to me. And occasionally I just go look it up and watch it like 4 times in a row. But I now can't watch that scene without stew, fuck yeah!
I've definitely seen that make the rounds on Tumblr.
It's like truly my favorite thing in the world.
That's hilarious.
So that's just like my one singular out of category note that I needed to share with the world. In case you've missed it, do go look it up because it just is a delight.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about characters.
Characters!
So I really like Ed and Al for their own things, of course. Mm-hmm. Like, I They're like wonderful. How Al is very kind and sweet and gentle.
But without letting people walk over him.
Yeah, he's also, like, assertive when he needs to be.
Like, when he first meets Greed, the original Greed, and his, like, Chimera friends.
He's
and
like, get out of me!
Like, they're like, hi, like, you should come with us. And he goes, oh, my teacher says that I shouldn't talk to strangers. They're like, how old are you? You should be old enough to, like, make decisions for yourself. He's like, I should! And then he's like, I thought about it. And I don't want to talk to you. No. Like, beats them up.
Yeah, that's a good moment.
It's truly just such an Al moment.
Yeah. That's a good one. I like Ed so much. Like,
he's such a little shit. I love him.
He's very passionate.
He is. And he has the worst taste in aesthetics.
It's so funny.
Everything he makes is just, like, so tacky.
It's so tacky. It's so funny. It's great, but I love him a lot. He's a good guy. He's a good guy.
He is. He's always doing his best. He's, like, got the shortest little temper, especially when it comes to being called short, which is so funny.
Yeah, but I like that.
The longest running joke in the show, and it's
him being short.
It's him being short. It's just a delight.
And then at the end when he's, like, tall, you're like, oh my god!
God, yeah, I have that written down in my like
boy's growing up.
Favorite moments. It's like Winry's yelling at Ed to stop the promise date, and you suddenly realize that Ed is taller than Winry, and it just like hits how much they've grown and how much time has passed, and you're just like
physically and maturity wise.
My boy's grown up. He's grown up so much. I'm so proud of him.
Yeah, I'm very proud of him as well.
The scene hits so hard every single time. It's like I know it's coming, but at the same time, it's like, oh, but look at him. He's grown up.
Yeah. And Ed and Al are one of the good siblings.
They're so good. They're so good.
Good sibling relationships.
They love each other so much, but they're also so self-sacrificial for each other, and it's like...
Of course. The codependency. Love it.
God, for real.
They're great. Love it.
They're so wonderful.
Their relationship with their dad.
God, fucking Von Hohenheim.
I hate Hohenheim.
I think
sucks.
God, I'm going to drop down real quick. Speaking of Von Hohenheim.
Okay.
To my category called Fathers. Where I'm going to compare Hohenheim and father. See, because it's so interesting to me. Because, like, Hohenheim is, at heart, a good person. He is doing everything he can to save the, like, or, like, do right by the 5,000 plus souls inside of him.
Yeah.
He is doing his best to save the country.
Yeah, he is.
He loved his wife endlessly. Yeah. He is, like... every time we see him like out and about, he is like helping people in the towns he goes through. Yeah. However,
he's a horrible dad.
He's the worst father.
Horrible dad.
And it's like I have one note. It's like he knows all 5,000 of the souls he possesses by name, but he never once goes back to check on his children and his wife.
Yeah.
And it's like Hohenheim.
I don't like that.
Buddy. What the fuck?
That's just, like, difference in values, I guess. Like, I think you should prioritize your family over many things, but he was just like, oh, they're fine. They're fine.
And it's like, if you loved Trisha as much as you say you do, and as much as you, like, think about her, why did you never go back to just be like, hi.
Right.
Like, just check in.
Literally, like, you can, like, there's a bunch of dads that have to travel around, but they always, like, touch base again.
Like, write her letters.
Yeah.
Write letters home to the family.
Like, what the fuck? And then, like, he only interacted with Ed and Al maybe, like, 3 times when they were growing up. Like,
yeah, like,
even
he was
though
there
he was
when
there,
they were,
just,
like
ignored
toddlers.
them.
And it's like, buddy. I don't know. It's just...
Didn't like that.
Yeah,
and it's like, you can be like a good person but still be a horrible parent. Like,
yeah, absolutely. He's such a fascinating character.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then like even at the end when he, like, the promise day is over, they saved, you know, Amestris, and then he's just like, he talks to oh god, who was it that he talked to? I wasn't able to watch the final episodes, but I know he has a conversation with someone where he's like, yeah, we saved the day, blah blah blah, and then he just like books it back to Risenbull and like dies on Trisha's grave.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you didn't want to say goodbye to your sons again?
Yeah,
you
your
just
kids are
ditched
alive.
them? Like, buddy, go tell them goodbye.
Yeah.
Go say, hey, like, hey, good job.
I hate
like,
that.
God damn it, Hohenheim, you're making the same mistakes again.
It's like, your wife would be so pissed with you.
Trisha would
pissed.
Trisha would be
I'd be
fucking
pissed.
furious.
It's like, I'm dead. You need to prioritize our kids. Like,
God.
please take care of the kids. Like,
Oh,
but
God.
there's this one meme that is like one of my favorite memes of all time, and it's like when Ed and Hohenheim are like sitting around a fire and they're getting ready to, like, I think it's like go after Pride or something.
Yeah.
But it's like kind of near the end and they're sitting around the fire and talking. And the meme is Hohenheim says, oh, like, I raised 2 fully functional adults. And then Ed is like, you got 2 other kids I don't know about.
God, for real, you didn't raise anyone, Hohenheim.
Exactly.
Who did you raise?
Exactly.
Because you certainly didn't raise these 2 boys. Panako did.
Yeah. And I think Ed's energy, too, is, like, I recognize that Hohenheim is, like, good, but also, like, I can not like him because he's a bad dad to me.
Yeah.
Like,
I appreciate the work he's been doing. He did a lot to
yeah,
save
but
a
I'm
mistress.
allowed to dislike him.
But, oh, absolutely. And, like, yeah, every time he shows up on screen, I'm like, ah, fuck this guy.
Yeah, fuck this guy.
But, like, yeah, no,
dislike.
And it's interesting, like, I was considering a comparison between Hohenheim and Father, like the OG homunculus.
The dwarf in the glass.
The dwarf in the glass. Because, like, they're both terrible fathers, but in vastly different ways.
Yeah, it's very true.
And that, like, Hohenheim abandons his children to go off and do his work, whereas, like, the homunculus keeps his children very, very close and, like, under a microscope. And, like, if they displease him, he literally eats them.
Yeah.
Like,
it's way more abusive.
Yeah, and it's
like abuse versus neglect.
Exactly. Neither of them are good fathers, and it's hard to say whether the homunculi, I mean, some of them definitely do hate him. Like,
yes,
Greed absolutely hates him, both iterations. And Wrath also seems to kind of hate him because he very much craves, like, the thing that he values most when we see him dying are the choices he was able to make freely, like his wife.
He does not like being controlled.
Yeah, he very much valued that he got to choose his own wife.
Yeah.
But it's like the others, like Lust and Gluttony, and I'm still unsure where Envy stands on this, but Lust and Gluttony seem to, like, be okay, or at least they don't complain.
Yeah, they don't.
That where we see.
Yeah, I feel like Envy is iffy about Father.
Envy's whole situation is so fascinating to me.
It's so good. I love the character, the gender fluid icon.
God, for real. Oh my god, I love them. And God, the design of, like, Envy's little, like, worm form is so interesting. I love it.
The worm voice is so funny.
It's so good. There really aren't any, like, the only good father in the show, I would argue, is Hughes.
Oh yeah, he's a great dad.
He may go a little overbearing on the spoiling, but, like,
he's a good dad.
But he's a good dad.
Yeah.
Like, even we don't see too many beyond, like, Father and Hohenheim, but we see, like, the Armstrong father, and he's just like, oh, my children want to attack each other to see who's gonna kick me out of the place of head of the family. Guess I'll leave.
Yeah.
And then, like, we see Riza's dad, who tattooed his research on her skin,
Yeah.
but taught it to somebody else.
Yeah.
And then just was like, anyway, bye, and died.
Yeah.
And, like, not that I'm saying his health was his fault, but it's like...
Treat your daughter more as a person.
Yeah. It's like, what the fuck, dude? So it's just like... What's up with dads? Like, Hiroshi? Is Hiroshi the name of the mangaka?
I don't know.
I don't remember. Something like that. It's like, buddy, what you got against dads?
I think it's a woman at least. I know that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like a whole thing.
It's good though.
Oh, and then like the emperor, who is the father of like Mei and Ling, has like 40 something kids and is pitting them against each other to find immortality.
Annoying.
So like it's a whole thing.
That guy reminds me of Jin Guangshan from The Untamed, just like lazy, like ordering people around.
God, that's a perfect comparison.
Yeah.
And then like we could technically say Wrath is a dad, but like, let's be real, Pride is older than him.
Yeah.
Pride is older than him.
Yeah.
That's...
Wrath is not a dad. They don't have a parent-child relationship.
What's super interesting though is that like his role of a dad
is
a good dad.
Yeah.
He loves and cares about his son. He's there for him as often as he can be. And seems to like spend a lot of time with his wife and take care of her as well.
He's good at playing the roles.
Yeah. And I it's a weird thing, but I think if he had the option, he would love to do that.
Yeah, he would.
And it's like kind of a pity that he like doesn't have the choice.
Yeah, it sucks.
Which is just...
His backstory is so depressing.
It's so sad. It's... God. It's... The whole situation of the homunculi, I think, is so interesting and tragic.
Yeah.
Like...
They're defined by this one trait, basically.
Yeah. And, like, Bradley's, I think, is the most tragic just because we know he, like...
Used to be human.
Yeah. I mean, they all technically did. Like, Greed used to be Ling.
Yeah.
They all take over a person.
That's true,
most of the time they overpower and we don't get to know the person they were before.
Yeah.
It's just that like with Greedling and with Bradley, we know that there is still some of the person in there.
Yes, exactly.
It's just that like with Wrath, they merged.
Yeah.
And then with Greedling, Ling is just
two in one.
He still exists within and they can trade. The other ones, they just fully overpowered.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's, the person is no longer there, but they did used to be a person.
Yeah, that's fair.
But it's just, the homunculi are good.
If we're talking about them right now, like the sins, watching the show was so fun because I was like, okay, what sins are there? Like, which ones do we have to go? Because like, I'm not Catholic. Like, I didn't get that drilled into me. So I was constantly like, what sins are left that I haven't met yet? Like,
who's out there?
That was pretty fun to discover.
It was really fun.
And then once you figure out like who is who, that's also fun to discover. Like figuring out that Bradley is Wrath is
that reveal was like
that was so cool.
So rude.
Oh,
it was great.
It's
like
great.
I think that was one of my like favorite things was the reveal that he was first of all just
moments.
A homunculus when he's like fighting Greed,
and then B Wrath, which is one of my favorite sins.
And they like reveal that he's a homunculus like almost immediately after the scene where he's talking with Ed and Al in the hospital. And they're like, we're looking into these homunculi. Yeah. And he's like, well, don't trust anyone. And you're like, God damn it.
It's one of those, like, the person that tells you not to trust anyone is the person
you shouldn't trust.
You shouldn't trust, yeah. That's always sweet.
It's like, no, but we trust the wrong guy. Well, technically, they didn't want to tell him anyway. He just showed up and read their notes.
Yeah, just
but it's like,
because he can.
It's so rude. And then it's like, he's Wrath, and he, like... And then, like, that leads right into the fight with,
Greed.
With Ling. With,
oh, yeah. That also happens.
And Lan Fan, like, chops off her arm mid-battle, which is so cool.
Yeah, that was a good move. I was impressed by that move.
Lan Fan is so
Tying
cool.
it to a dog.
I love that girl.
Yeah.
She's incredible.
But, like, Wrath...
But, yes, Wrath is...
Fighting with the swords, the dual swords.
The swords are so cool.
So awesome. I would love to do that.
He's so
peak fighting form.
For
Love
real. That. God, Wrath is so cool.
Yeah, and then Greedling is one of my faves as well.
I love Greedling. I love both Greeds, but then like watching Greed become more humanized, like fully like speed running humanization alongside Ling, and you get to see him like become attached to these people and like listen to these people and like befriend them.
And then you find out like he's greedy for love, basically.
Yeah. The like flipping on it, like, and he says it kind of early on where he's like, hey, like, greed isn't a good or bad thing. Greed is just wanting. And that's fine. That's a normal response. And he says it to Ed like so early on. And then later it's like, no, I just wanted friends and I wanted like to be loved by friends.
Right.
And it's like, well, baby, you have that. Baby, you have that. That's why you wanted your chimeras back in the day with your previous like incarnation. That's why you have Ling now, and you have Ed, and you have the chimeras, and you have like the whole gang.
The gang.
And I love him, and I will never get over what happened to them, and I will cry every time because they deserve better. Yeah, and it's fine.
They're some of my favorite, just like peak character design, like insane character design. So pretty, so love it.
Yeah, God. The one thing that does bug me about like Ling, which we lose a bit with Greedling, is that they do, for whatever reason, he's the only one they do it to, is that they do dive into some like Chinese stereotypes with him, with the like
the racism.
Yeah, they do the like slanted eyes bit. They do the like he at some point does the like me no speak English thing. And you're like, okay, but like we don't need this.
We don't.
None of your friends are doing this. No one else coming from Jing is doing this. Why are we doing this to Ling?
Right.
It's so that's always bugged me. But like they kind of stopped doing that as much when he combines with Greed. Yeah. Although the slant eyes do tend to come back whenever, just to designate which one's fronting. Yeah. But
if the eyes are open or closed.
But even when they're like doing the like really frequent switches during the fight, it even becomes then it's just like, I don't know.
Right.
Which is kind of fun actually, because then you're just like, it doesn't matter which one's fronting, they're gonna protect their friends.
Yeah, they have the same goal.
So that's very fun.
It is fun.
And then like I think Pride is so fascinating.
I love Pride. The concept of Pride to me is one that I've always kind of grappled with.
That's fair.
And it's so interesting of like Pride was like the original homunculus and like so powerful and all this stuff. It's very cool.
I think the thing that interests me the most is that, good Lord, I'm so sorry guys. My allergies have been driving me crazy for like 2 weeks. I'm going to try to stop doing this as much as I can, but no guarantees. Did I get it? No way to know.
Drink your tea.
I'm trying. But Pride is allegedly the sin he got rid of first. Yeah. But like you have like a single conversation with Father and he's still the most prideful man in the room.
Oh yeah.
And like he's still exceptionally angry.
Yeah.
He's still very slothful. The man never leaves his room. I don't know about lust. He might have actually purged lust. We don't really see that one. Greed, he is trying to eat God.
Yeah, definitely greed.
So like, and like envy, he did not purge these sins from himself. Yeah. Like whatever he was trying to accomplish, he didn't do.
Right. He just like kind of created an extension.
Yeah. So I think it's super fascinating because like all he did was, I don't know, maybe he like weakened those traits in himself and they've just built back up over the centuries. Maybe. Or however long, but like he didn't fully get rid of them.
No.
But maybe it's his own view of what he thought his pride was, because like Pride looks just like what he did originally.
Yes.
It's exactly the form of the like the dwarf in the flask, the homunculus in the flask, and it has to stay contained. Yeah. None of the other homunculi really have to stay in a container. Mm-hmm. But like Pride has to stay either in his body or in a shadow or in the like tunnels.
The other ones are more anthropomorphic.
Yeah, they can kind of do whatever they need to do. Yeah. So it like Pride may be one of the most powerful, but it also has the same weaknesses that the OG had at the time.
It's very interesting. I remember when that reveal happened too. That was one of the best ones as well.
God, yeah, like the most dangerous kindergartner around.
Yeah,
Celine Bradley.
It was so creepy, and like you find out when he's talking to Risa, and you're like, who is talking? And then you see the little shadow, and it's like,
it's a child. It's so rude. I love it so much.
It's so good.
It's so creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, yeah. Pride is, and then like. Pride eats Gluttony.
Yeah,
like
brutal.
He just eats his brother.
Yeah,
and he's like, oh no, it's just an extension of myself. We're made of the same thing, so it's really just becoming one again. And it's like, bud, you ate your brother.
Yeah,
like
he didn't like that.
Like, buddy, you can just do that. So now you're like, what? Prutney?
Sure.
Glide.
I like Prutney.
It's just. So wild. And oh God, the homunculi are so interesting because they keep every single one of them is like, we're superior to humanity, we're the next, we're like, we're better, and then like every single one of them falls to like a human,
they get defeated, like
a human weakness,
like
in some form or fashion. Like Wrath's last words are about like his wife that he chose. It's like his need for independence and human attachment. Envy dies in like crying about being humiliated by humans and trying to deny being jealous of humanity. And like greed is straight up like
sacrificing himself
for humanity. Lust, I guess, stays the most
prideful.
The most like devoted to being
for sure.
separate. But and Gluttony, God, I feel bad for Gluttony being betrayed by Pride. Like, first of all, Gluttony and Lust's relationship is so interesting to me. Like they're like, Lust took care of Gluttony. And was almost always by his side. And then like all Gluttony really wanted after that was to get revenge on the one who killed Lust.
Definitely.
And it's just like that he was the one who like really cared about his siblings.
Yeah, definit's
It's just they're all so fascinating to me is the thing.
Yeah, they're cool.
And like then there's Sloth, who we don't see for so long, and then he's just been like building out this giant circular tunnel around all of Amestris for God knows how long.
Yeah, for the circle.
Yeah, like fucking wild. It's such a big circle.
Sloth's fight with Armstrong is
fucking
pretty good.
Wild.
That's
it's
pretty
so good. The fastest homunculus, that's his thing, is like he's super fast.
Yeah, and it's like bursts.
Yeah, but he's too fast to control himself.
Yeah.
Like, let this man take a nap, please.
Yeah, literally.
Someone let him take a nap.
Yeah.
That's all he wants. And they won't let him. God, I love him. He's just interesting to me because he also has like, he clearly has like no desire to be like involved in any of this.
No, he's like, why am I doing this?
He's like, why, like, what is this? What am I doing? Breaking rocks? Why?
He's like, whatever, I don't have anything else going on.
Yeah. Like, he clearly has no idea what's happening. He doesn't know about any plans. He just wants to sleep.
Yeah, which is relatable.
That's so relatable. Oh my God.
But
he's just so good.
Yeah. Talking about some other favorite moments. Going to the north to
Briggs.
That's great.
The northern wall of Briggs.
Love that.
And the northern wall of Briggs personified in Olivia Armstrong.
She's great.
She's so cool.
Yeah, she is.
Terrifying, and I love her.
She's awesome.
I have to say, the heroes of this show for me are all women. Riza Hawkeye, Olivia Armstrong, Azumi Curtis. Azumi is a god among women, and among men, and among humanity. She's so cool, and I love her.
I like her too.
I just, like, God, Olivia's so cool, though, is the thing. I just adore her.
Yeah, I like her energy, her alpha energy.
For real. She just, like, there's, like, her and, like, one other woman who, like, works in the medical office, I think, at Briggs. And, like, that seems to be it. Gender-wise at Briggs. And she's just... everyone is scared of her.
It's great.
It's wonderful.
She commands so much authority.
She does. And then, like, every time she and Roy talk, it's so funny.
Yeah.
Because she hates Roy so much, and he's just like, I'm just here.
Yeah, she's like, you're such a child.
I'm just a cheeky little guy. Which is...
She's like, oh, I hate that you're up to shit. Like, you're scheming.
Like, can you be normal for, like, 5 seconds? And he's like, no. Which is so funny because we know he's like a really serious guy, but he's just like not around her.
Yeah, it's funny.
Because he knows she hates it.
Yeah, it's funny.
God, they're so funny. God, I love her. I love her.
She's great.
She's great. And then like her right-hand man, Buccaneer.
Yeah.
So cool with his like
the
chainsaw what's the word I'm looking for?
Prosthetic.
That works. Automail. Automail is what I was looking for. But yes.
Very cool.
God, I love it so much. God, I love it. Can we talk briefly diverting to Roy?
Okay, go ahead and talk about him because like he's all right to me. I don't really like love him so much, but
I adore him.
Okay, go ahead.
And mostly because of the woman who raised him.
Oh yeah.
So you find out
Christmas,
like
I think?
Madam Christmas.
Madam Christmas.
So you find out like at the end, towards the end, that he has a foster mother whose name is Madam Christmas, who runs a brothel.
Kind of like a drag queen, coded.
Yeah, I mean maybe.
Yeah.
I hadn't considered that,
It's
but
just like
I don't.
The aesthetic.
Yeah, I buy it.
Yeah.
But she is the madam of a brothel.
Yeah.
And we see Roy visit her like maybe twice, but more often we see Roy meeting with the ladies.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because when you see that, it clicks with so many other things about Roy. Like, there's, like, Roy runs a spy network. He runs a spy network of his main men and then many other people across the whole country of Amestris. And he was taught to run a spy network by Madam Christmas and all of her girls, which, like... That's why most of his spy network runs via... Like
servants and stuff.
I mean, yes, that, but also his codes and everything are run on a more, like... They're not tough coding. They're not, like, sneaky, over-the-top spy work. It's all just, like, Roy flirting down the phone. Roy talking to women. Roy playing the ladies' man. And it's all very, like... somewhat like feminine coded.
Yeah.
Like it is. The first time we really see this happen is when Roy and his men are hiding Barry the Chopper. And also setting up some traps and stuff, getting ready for the whole Maria situation. Which, like, first of all, the Maria Ross quote unquote execution is like the biggest time we see it in play, or the like real big first time we see it in play.
Yes.
But like Reese is like, hi, I'm taking some personal leave because I am mad at you. And he's like, I mean, like, fine, I guess. And so she disappears. Everyone thinks she's mad at Roy. This like almost second she's shut the door, he picks up the phone and he's just like, oh my god, hi Elizabeth. Like, don't worry, like, no, my assistant isn't here. No one can bully me about talking to you on work hours. Oh my god. And he gets like weirdly flirty and like chatting, and you hear a woman's voice down the other line like, oh my god, like, it's so good to talk to you. What do you think you're gonna do?
Who is that?
And like, turns out he's just talking to Riza again, who is like sitting up in a tower with a scope, watching Fallman, who's hiding out with Barry the Chopper as they wait for Gluttony to show up.
They're planning all this.
And it's all like code. They're just talking to each other via flirting code, which he learned from Madam Christmas. And it's just like everything he knows how to do spy network wise is like subtle notes. Buying flowers that have notes tucked in.
Yeah.
You use people's names in conversation, and the first letter of each person's name spells out the code, which Riza uses with Roy. And it's just like, this man set up a full competent spy network across an entire country that he learned from the madam of a brothel.
It's great.
And I just adore that about him. And I love Madam Christmas, and Madam Christmas saved Amestris by teaching Roy how to do it.
Yeah.
And that's my favorite thing about Roy Mustang. Like, yeah, also he's like the flame alchemist and very dangerous and very capable. But like, but my favorite thing about him is like his spy network and his ability to lead a team that, one, trusts him, and two, was able to like fully drop into this comfortably because he like led them there.
Yeah.
And I just love it so much. It's my favorite thing. Every time they get all like funny and flirty, and they like, when Riza's up there, she's like, oh yeah, someone got fresh with Jacqueline, so I had to like slap them. And she's talking about like Barry the Chopper beating up Fallman or something, and it's just like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
He's like, well, okay, anyway, I was thinking of going fishing this weekend. Do you want to come? And everyone else in the office is like, can't that man get off the phone? I'm begging.
Right.
And because of that, they have like full weapons supplies, and which he didn't even organize, but all of his like crew and the people he's worked with have learned enough from him to set it up. And it's just, oh, I love it. I love Roy. I love his spy network. I love all his men. I love everything. And it worked out, and that's how they were able to stage a full coup across the country.
Yeah, they have
into neighboring countries.
Pretty good network.
They do. It's so good. Yeah, I don't know. The thing is, it's so good, and it's just like, I love it. I love it. I love it. It's like one of my favorite things. And I love that even though he like technically started organizing it and helped start planning the coup, things happen that his people organized well that still surprise him. Like Maria Ross showing back up in Central, Rebecca showing up in Central with like that many weapons, and that the weapons were supplied by Havoc, who he thought was like fully out. And it's just like all his people are still in and like working with him, and
that's nice.
It's just
very nice.
It's so good. It's just, it shows how like loyal they all are to him and to the country, and to like setting things to right.
Yeah, it's like they're not just loyal to him, like they respect him and they like him.
Exactly. Which I think is like one of the biggest themes. I mean, there's like so many really important and relevant themes in the show, but one of like the biggest ones is the military and government of an imperialist nation.
Fascism.
Are like by definition corrupt. And like we see that like even our favorite characters are like included in this. They are corrupt. They are guilty. They have they have committed war crimes. We watch it happen.
It's pretty bad.
Like Roy especially. Like he's called the hero of Ishval for a reason. Like he killed so many people. And we cannot excuse him for that.
No.
And he doesn't excuse himself for that. Everyone holds themselves responsible. Which is why Roy wants to do this and why he wants to become Fuhrer. From the very beginning, he tells us this. Like, as soon as we find out that that's his plan, he wants to do it so that he can hold everyone accountable for what they did. Including himself. He wants to, like...
He wants it to not happen again.
Exactly. He wants to stop it. He wants to pay back the Ishvalans, and he wants to start setting things to right within Amestris to make moves to prevent this from ever happening again. Like restructuring
the government in that way.
Exactly. And it's
a good great political thriller for sure, and it will like teach you about fascism and war crimes and stuff like that. I think it's a pretty good thing. And without like diving too deep into like the complications of it, but like without holding back on the realities of it. They're not holding back on that.
Like we do get to see like the war in Ishval, and we also see like the effects it has on some of this. Like we get to see the PTSD in Roy and Riza, especially in Armstrong. And Alex has like open PTSD. We see it multiple times. And it's rough. And then we get to see them like trying to like stop it from happening again and continuing to occur. And like the people who not only want it to keep happening, but keep people from noticing the patterns as they like continue killing off people and keeping the conspiracy going. Like it's insane. But I think it's just I love it.
It's very real. So
it is, unfortunately.
But it's a good representation of that.
It is. I think it's a good message that the people we are rooting for acknowledge what they have done and fully accept the responsibility and without pushing off the guilt and are willing to pay for what they have done and are trying to do better
and not being consumed by the guilt either. I think is important. Like you need to be like guilty enough to want change but not guilty enough to feel paralyzed.
And then of course we also have like Scar there as like a physical representation of the trauma done to Ishval as it like tries to like punish those who did him wrong.
Right.
And eventually, like,
he's a very good character.
I love Scar.
Because that also gets into, like, you've been traumatized, and it's like, how do you want to deal with that? Like, do you want to be wrathful? Do you want to be, like, righteous? Like, do you want to be forgiving? Like, it's all of those questions, and I think that's awesome.
And then eventually he comes to the question of, like, I have been taking revenge, I have been striking back, but now I have the opportunity to work towards the better change.
Right.
And a better future.
Yeah.
Am I willing and in a position where I am worthy of being a part of that after the revenge I've taken.
Exactly.
And stepped too far from God.
Right.
Because he's been doing what he considers a sin. He's been doing alchemy.
Yeah.
Which I think is fascinating. Because that's also something that happened to him, like, against his will, was given that alchemical tattoo.
Yeah.
His brother's arm.
Yeah.
So there's a whole lot going on with Scar. I could talk about Scar for hours.
I really like the religious aspect of, like, this is a sin because it's, like, we're having the power of God, which is very interesting for, like, pride and, like, even in real life, it's, like, it reminds me of Jurassic Park. Like, just because you have the ability to do something doesn't mean you should do something.
That's
like,
a very
that
good
is
point.
not what you should be doing, right?
God, yeah, good point.
Yeah, so it's very cool to think about.
Yeah, he's so interesting, especially because, like, he's considered his arm, like, and his alchemy, his destructive alchemy, sinful, but it is the weapon he has, so he might as well use it to take out people who are already committing that sin.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he, like, fully embraces it by getting the creation tattoos, so he can, like, use them both.
Yes, that's pretty cool.
He has, like, fully embraced it, and then, like, we don't get a whole lot of time, if I remember correctly, because I didn't quite get to that episode, how comfortable he is with having both, but I know he's like, this, you know, this is a part of me now.
Yeah, he's accepting it.
I can't only be destruction.
Right.
And it's just...
I think that's very good because, like, in everyone, like, you need to have a balance of things. Like, in all things, I think you need to have a balance. So
equivalent exchange.
Yeah, equivalent exchange, exactly. So, like, if you lean too much into one thing, like, that's not going to be good for you or anybody else.
Exactly.
So, very cool. We are a bit running out of time, so I want to get to everything.
Yeah, for sure.
One thing that, when I was watching the latest JJK season, so Shibuya, I think we were watching this together, and it was, like, during Choso arcs, and he was, like, making the blood stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, this reminds me of something. I was like, what is this? Why am I getting flashbacks? Like, I have deja vu. And then I finally figured it out. Is because, like, Ed like alchemy's blood together as, like, a sword or something. I was like, oh, it's like you're doing something with blood, you know, making it into an object. So I just want to point out those parallels because my brain was like, something is here.
There is something. I like that.
Yeah, it's cool.
I did briefly want to talk about Mei Chang and Xiao Mei.
Yeah.
Because I don't really have, like, anything on them except that they're cute and I love them.
Yeah, they're very cute. I like them.
And Xiao Mei, or not Xiao Mei, Xiao Mei's the panda. Mei Chang, being this, like, tiny, like,
kid,
10-year-old princess or whatever.
But she's very capable.
Who's extremely capable. And, like, the difference between alchemy and alchemy.
That's very interesting too.
Which I thought was interesting because it's, like, the way I interpreted it for a long time, I think, was, like, alchemy being almost like a druidic form of alchemy, where it's very, like, leaning into, they talk about the dragon's pulse, being
the
what
meridians
fuels it.
And stuff.
Yeah.
Chakra stuff.
But when we, like, get down to it, you find out that it's, like, it is essentially the same thing. It's just that, like, alchemists and Amestris couldn't fully reach the energy because there was all of this, like, Philosopher's Stone energy blocking them from reaching the full energy, which is like, oh, this could be the same thing, you just don't have full access. Which I thought was just, like, so fascinating.
It's also interesting, like, when Father, like, turns off everyone's alchemy, like, she can still use alchemy.
Yeah, because she's like, no, but I know what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
You don't understand, I know.
Yeah.
She's
on a different level.
Yeah, it's so fascinating to me that it's, like, essentially the same thing. They just one can dig a little deeper for the energy and therefore can sink that energy to like
different things.
Yeah, to people's natural energy and which alchemy is a little weaker at because they don't have that connection.
Mm-hmm.
They've been disconnected because of father.
Yeah.
Which is so fascinating.
Yeah.
And I love the idea.
Yeah, it's cool.
I also think it's incredibly stupid that like alchemists in general are not taught medical alchemy.
Oh my god.
Like they talk about it, they're like, man, I don't know any medical alchemy. It's like not enough to even just like set a bone or like fix a little scratch. Like I feel like this is something you should be taught like step 1.
It's
like
the military-industrial complex.
Like I feel like that should be just like intro to alchemy 101.
Yeah,
just like
it should be.
But like whatever,
Yeah.
dude.
Just different culture.
I do want to say this is a thing that has been for me.
Okay.
Since the first time I watched FMA from 03.
Uh-huh.
My very first OTP.
Okay.
From Fullmetal was Winry with Panina, the thief
Oh,
girl
yeah.
from Rush Valley.
I see that.
I thought those two, I was like, these girls are lesbians and they're in love.
Yeah.
And I
can definitely see it.
I remember I told McKenna that when we like first watched it together. And I was like, definitely these two are together and in love. And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, are you kidding me? The chemistry they have. And she's like, I have no idea.
No, I see that.
And then we were looking through in the end of Brotherhood, you know, they have the like photograph.
I love that
montage.
ending. It's a great ending.
The family photo at the end with like Ed and Winry and the baby and like whatever has Panina in it.
Okay.
And all I'm saying is Ed is traveling a lot. He's out doing his research and whatever.
It's Polly.
It's Polly. Look,
I can see that.
Winry can be with Panina.
Yeah.
And then just when Ed comes home, he's home for that time.
Yeah.
And you know what? When he's away, there's Ling.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. I like a lot of things about that ending scene. Like,
It's really good.
I like that maze with Al. Like,
That's
sort
so
of.
silly and cute.
And
I love
then
it.
also I love that Ed is like very happy to be a dad. You know, it's like so different from his own dad and his relationship, and I just love that so much. It's like
so cute.
You're breaking the generational trauma pattern. Like we love that.
Yeah, you're gonna be a happy family.
Yes, I love it so much. And then one of my favorite moments, I think, in the whole show, and I will like go back and rewatch this episode, is like near the end where like they're fighting father, but like young hot father.
Yeah.
Who is like kind of like God at this point.
He's eaten God.
Yeah, so when like Ed has his arm like stuck against like the stone, like it like one of the little like pipe things
the
or
rebar,
whatever,
yeah.
the rebar goes through it. And that's when like Alphonse like alchemies like his body or soul away so that Ed can get his
other arm back.
Yeah, and then just that moment where he gets his arm back and you can see the difference between them like physically, muscly.
Yeah, the one's like atrophied.
Yeah, and then it's like in the sub and the dub, I've watched it in both. Like this moment, like he like rips the rebar out of his arm and like yells, and the animation in that movement as well is so good. It's like one of my favorite moments because it's like, oh shit, here we go, like let's fucking go, like
let's go.
It's so good. It's so good. I love that so much. Like that was so hype for me watching it. It's great.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I think like for me, the one thing that always gets me, the one scene that I like love to rewatch over and over and over again, is when Ed ends up at Al's gate, not at the very end, kind of towards the middle.
Oh yes.
And you can tell this is a shot like direct from the manga because they put so much detail into it. And like Ed goes through the gate but then pushes back in.
Yes.
And he's yelling at Al. He's like, hold on, I will come back.
I will come back for you. Just hold on.
And his fingers pointing through.
He points at it. That shot.
Yeah, and the like end credit music starts to swell in while the scene is still happening.
Yeah, when he's like closing the door.
Yeah, and it's good, and the music hits, and it's just like
good.
Then you get that like brief shot of Al in the distance, and then the door closes, and it's just like
love that.
Ooh,
love that.
It's so good. Is the thing.
I love also like when you like when they meet Truth or or like God or whatever, like those are great scenes to me.
And the truth always has a bit of that person's voice in it.
Yes,
which is just such a good detail.
And they like match their form.
Yes,
like it matches Ed and Al's human form, and then it matches the dwarf in the flask little ball thing. That is so good. Izumi's.
God, I love Izumi Curtis so much. I would die to meet Izumi Curtis.
She's great, yeah. I do like her.
Her and Sig, best couple in the world, and she is a housewife, and she will kick your ass.
Yep, love that.
She broke into Briggs multiple times, and they thought she was a bear.
Yeah. It's great.
Anyway, I think that's, God, it's just such a good show.
It's
if
a great
haven't
show.
Seen it, please
100%
see
watch it. 100% watch it.
I know we spoiled like all the plot twists, but like it's still so good, y'all.
It's so good. And I will like rewatch it periodically too.
So often. And if you haven't watched the 03 version, like please do. It's entirely different. It's so different.
Yeah.
And it's still so good.
That'll be next on my list for sure.
Hell yeah.
But let us know what y'all think about Fullmetal Alchemist and like what characters you like and everything. And we will see y'all next time.
Adios.